My name is Rabbi Yael Dadoun, and I am so excited to join the Temple-Tifereth Israel community. I am honored to stand on the shoulders of the legendary leadership of this congregation that has influenced the Reform movement, Zionism, and done extraordinary work in social justice since its beginnings in 1850. In joining the legacy of this congregation, I wanted to tell you a little bit about me and my journey that led to the rabbinate. I was born in Westport, Connecticut, to Miro and Georgette Dadoun. At the time, my father was brought from Israel to work on a special radar engineering project. At the completion of this project, my family and I moved back to Israel, a first for me, where I fell in love with the country. In the 3 short years I lived there, I grew very attached to Israel's culture and people, creating a lifelong bond that remains strong till today. As we get to know one another, I truly hope we can share stories of passion for Israeli art, music, literature, and society. In the early 1990s, my family returned to Connecticut, where I was heavily involved in synagogue life and ultimately became the first bat mitzvah in our family. This was particularly unique because my mother was born and raised in Rabat, Morocco, and my father in Sidi Bouzid, Tunisia. American Jewish life was somewhat foreign to them, but Jewish practice was so important in our household, they made sure I was immersed in our local Jewish community. Judaism in our home was always held in high regard and plays a significant part in our everyday lives. We observe North African customs like the Mimuna celebration, which takes place on the last day of Passover, and partake in henna ceremonies before weddings, to name just a few. My family and I are very close and try to celebrate as many holidays as we can together. My 2 older sisters, Galit and Tanya, each have 3 children, and one of our greatest priorities is that they continue our family's traditions and stay connected to their Jewish roots. Which is why I have taught Hebrew and Judaism since becoming a bat mitzvah. And no matter what I was doing in my life, I stayed connected to a Jewish school in order to make Judaism vibrant and meaningful for members of my community. I even continued to teach while attending Hunter College in New York City, where I earned my bachelor's degree in political science and theater arts. I remained in New York City for my master's degree in religious education at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion and graduated in 2014. Throughout my years in school, I worked with youth leadership and cultivated a deep passion for leading educational trips to Israel. In the 24 trips I've led, I have always been profoundly humbled at the opportunity to explore Israel through the eyes of so many others, not only to create unique memories, but to also help foster deeper Jewish identities and help enrich a spiritual union of world Jewry. When I completed my studies in New York, I moved to Miami Beach, Florida, where I served as the principal and director of education at Temple Bet Shalom. There, I continued to pursue my love for Jewish learning, teaching, and creating relationships that would last a lifetime. In fact, the senior rabbi has not only become a lifelong mentor, but introduced me to my husband, Joe Naroditsky. Joe and I share in our love for travel and finding Jewish spaces all over the world. We've observed Shabbat in over 25 cities around the world, including Kyoto, Japan, and Chiang Mai, Thailand. My love for photography has helped us capture those moments and others, including our many visits to Israel, where we tied the knot in 2017. It was the time I spent with Joe in our community in Miami Beach that came my rabbinic calling. I loved being a temple educator and wanted to continue my own learning in order to be with the Jewish people in their most sacred moments. In 2017, I made the leap going back to my alma mater in Cincinnati this time for my rabbinic ordination. I learned so much while at HUC JIR. But my greatest lessons came in the final year of my studies, when our family grew and our son Micha, or Micah, was born. That, coupled with my experience in pastoral care, greatly touched my heart and shaped the kind of rabbi I'd like to be, supporting the members of my community in moments of abounding delight, difficulty, and everything in between. It is my greatest joy to make Judaism relevant, meaningful, and help each person articulate their story in our Jewish narrative. I hope to be there in every part of Jewish life, helping foster new and cherished rituals and sustain temple traditions like TGIS, Shabbaton, and the many other transformational life cycle events. Joe, Micha, and I are so looking forward to getting to know each and every one of you and begin our Jewish paths hand in hand with the Temple-Tifereth Israel community.